exactly did President Obama say yesterday, and what authority in your precious Constitution gives him the right to say it?
Well, let's see if we can set the stage, McGraw. Believe it or not, this goes back to a simple question. What is a male and what is a female?
Right.
Is it biological as assigned on the birth certificate, or does it include the sex identity that an individual identifies with? So an individual referred to as a transgender individual, our fellow citizens, may have on their birth certificate that they were a male, and that was assigned to them at birth. They subsequently begin to identify as a female. Well, is that person, as a legal matter, a male or a female?
Now, throwing a wrench into all of this, there are people who are hermaphrodites that we learned in class in college, where they're born with both sexes, and many times the parents have to choose one or the other.
To be sure.
Yeah.
And so while there are some that might want to advocate that it is a very simple issue, both biologically and legally, unfortunately, I think the reality is it's not that simple. What the current controversy stems out of North Carolina. The North Carolina legislature passed a statute that required public agencies, including schools and universities, to assign restroom facilities based upon biological birth. And gender, for purposes of that statute in North Carolina, is the gender that was assigned on the birth certificate. So individuals in North Carolina who identify with a different gender than that which they were assigned at birth are forced to use restroom facilities under this statute that are at odds with the gender to which they identify.
Right.
The Obama administration sued North Carolina. North Carolina separately sued the Obama administration, and that litigation is now pending.
Right.
The soon-to-be, I think, cacophony is a result of a directive that the Obama administration is going to send to every educational institution in the United States, indicating to them that it is the Obama administration's position that Title IX requires that students who identify with a different gender than their biological gender, that has to be accommodated, and they have to be allowed to use the facilities of the gender to which they identify. That position paper, if you will, it's not a regulation, it'll be a position paper, that will be issued shortly. It was leaked to the Washington Post and the New York Times. But I think that will take this North Carolina dispute, McGraw and Kelly,
right,
to a whole different level. Let me just add, as the saying goes, I was born at night, but not last night.
Right.
Isn't it interesting that this position paper from the Obama administration is coming out at the end of the school year?
Yes, interesting. Now, they also say that there could be some repercussions with funds going to some of these school districts.
Well, that's the threat, in that, as I understand what has been leaked, is that the Obama administration is not saying that this is a mandate. The Obama administration is saying this is our position. You may remember, McGraw and Kelly, we talked about the federal gun laws recently, and that the Obama administration was taking an expanding definition of the gun statute relative to gun show dealers. Well, this is another example. As to the opponents of these initiatives, the opponents would say, well, this is the Obama administration just run amok with its Article II powers. To the supporters, they would say this is a terrific use of presidential power and the existing laws, both Title IX and the Civil Rights Act of '64.
Title IX signed, by the way, by Richard Nixon. And I don't know exactly what it says. Basically, it says equal protection with women and sex and religion and all of that, right?
In the context of it's part of it. Title IX is part of an educational statute and regulation, and it has gotten the most notoriety in respect of athletic programs.
Right,
for
but
men
it says
and women.
but what you do for one, you have to do for the other in terms of sex and religion and everything else, right?
Interestingly enough, Title IX itself recognizes and allows for separate restroom facilities and locker room facilities.
Right. What you do for the boys, you must do for the girls.
Right, and so then you insert into that this question: well, who is a boy and who is a girl?
Right.
Is it biological at birth, or does it also include the gender to which they currently identify?
This controversy is not going away.
It is not going to go away. It is going to get, I think, significantly more visceral, particularly this position paper that the Obama administration is going to issue as to the schools. It will, I suspect, become great fodder for Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump next fall. But if you step back for a moment, we're not talking about the Constitution. This is not a constitutional issue.
Right.
This is a statutory issue, Title IX and the Civil Rights Act of '64. Statutes are passed by legislatures, in this instance, Congress. That's why, McGraw and Kelly, we have elections. So if the courts decide that the Civil Rights Act of '64 and Title IX includes protections for the gender to which people identify, and the body politic thinks that is wrong, well, that's why we have elections, and they can change the law.
Donald Trump, not that I'm putting words in his mouth because he said just about everything in the spectrum, but he did say when asked, would you allow Caitlyn Jenner to use the girls' room in Trump Tower? He has no problem with Caitlyn Jenner using the girls' room in Trump Tower. So where he stands on this, I have no idea, but he did say that.
Right, but I think my guess, McGraw, is where the political volume and decibels will go past 100. Will not be on adult transgender. It'll be the schools, Kelly. Exactly.
Right.
And this notion that that in a high school setting that a student who was biologically and at birth certificate designated a male is now identifying as a female, and that student then goes to use the female locker rooms and female restrooms, and I think that's where the decibel level will begin to rise.
That's Greg Willard. That's another $500 you owe us for part of your education to become a St. Louis University law graduate. He's KTRS legal analyst, and let me just say that I think you should ask yourself this question. Where do you want your son or daughter to go to the bathroom with? Caitlyn Jenner or Denny Hassert? Greg Willard, have yourself a good day. Thanks for checking out.
Always good to be with you, my friend.
626 here, Big 550 KTRS.